special partnership with and brought to you by our friends at FLYN. Today on Soulfront, I have Jesse Lipscombe, who is an actor, activist, and entrepreneur. Along with acting, he's produced award-winning films and television shows. He just premiered his new film, Locked in Love, and is dropping a new album later in the month. Outside of the arts, Jesse does consulting inspired by his 2016 Make It Awkward campaign to combat racism, misogyny, homophobia, and hatred. Recently, he organized the Be the Change virtual rally in support of Black Lives Matter, the movement. Jesse is truly an inspirational leader in our community, and today we talk about the theme, Be the Change You Want to See in the World. So without further ado, let's get into the show. The first thing I want to ask is there what's the passion of yours that people wouldn't know about?
A passion of mine that they wouldn't know about?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a real thing, only because my business card says Jesse Lipscombe, professional passion follower. So they're not secret. I try to live my life by making a living out of my passions. So passions that they wouldn't know, I don't know if I even have one that isn't out there, you know, whether it be karaoke or making music. Oh, got one. There is one.
What is it?
I sketching naked people.
Sketchy naked people?
Yeah. I really love. And I have a number of erotic sketchbooks that I've just sketched.
That is awesome. Well, I always thought of in university, like at art school, that would be the class to go to. That would be the class.
Would you be the one sketching, or would you stand there?
God, you know what? I'd be pretty embarrassed. You know what? I think, I'm getting old enough where I could just get out there and do it. At this point, it doesn't matter. Yeah, but I'd probably be the sketcher, to just be completely honest.
I for sure would be the sketcher, but I always wanted to just do that. I thought that'd be a neat, just raw experience raw for sure. It would be, but you know what I mean? That would be kind of cool. I'd love to see different people's ideas of what I look like to them.
That's cool. I love that. Hey, Jesse, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for taking the time. Just want to do like a quick intro of you, a little bit about you. You're an actor, former athlete. You are an activist entrepreneur, along with giving, award-winning film and television shows. Outside of the arts, you do consulting, the 2016 Make It Awkward campaign to combat, racism, misogyny, homophobia, hatred. You've really, done a lot in this space. And, most recently you organized the Be the Change virtual rally in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What sparked the Be the Change virtual rally for you? Like, what was the impetus for that?
Unfortunately, the impetus is the climate that we live in, right? So, there's no secret that systemic racism is abundant in many different levels in the States and here. And obviously, the eyes of the world were opened a little bit more in the recent few weeks. And with that, I guess, critical mass awakening, at least the looks of that, I feel like sometimes what can I do is always the question. That's the thing. What can I do is always my question. And sometimes it is support. Sometimes it's show up. Sometimes it's be quiet. Sometimes it's listen. And sometimes it's create a platform. And this time, the idea was, what can I do? I'd like to get some people together and just talk about that. That was what the initial idea was. So it was Sunday afternoon, and I'm like, I'll put a little Facebook video live out and say, listen, let's get some people together to City Hall, and let's just chat and maybe bring some instruments and some music, and it's something small, not a big deal. That was the plan. Mm-hmm. So I put the video out, and small turned into thousands very fast. And so it was just me organizing at the stage. I had some help online from a friend in Calgary who was gonna kind of just help moderate the group as it got bigger. But then I had to make a decision, because I don't have the personnel, nor do I have a team to, within 30 hours, have 5,000 plus people be safe. And also a global pandemic's happening. There's a whole bunch of things here that I didn't necessarily have prepared for. So I opted to pivot and do it digitally, and let's do a live stream, which was really neat because it was like, well, A, this never would have happened beforehand if there wasn't a global pandemic. B, it's like a new way to rally, to learn, to listen, and to protest. And it also gives access to people who maybe didn't have it beforehand, whether it's able-bodied, not feeling confident enough to go into a crowded space when they may have compromised immunity, all of the above. And it really provided a safe space for Black, Indigenous, and people of color to tell their stories without being interrupted, without having to prove themselves, without having to be silenced, just a stage. And people listened, and they listened for a long time. You know, we had over 100,000 people listen to the entire 2 hours, which was pretty special.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. Like I listened to all the different speakers. Did you find that how you felt about the Black Lives Matters movement changed throughout kind of just going through that process?
No, I wouldn't say it changed for me, going through this process. What it was, the changes that I saw were actually with the people who were watching. A lot of my white brothers and sisters definitely got a different experience. And I think that experience was a result of a forced listening. There could not be an interruption. You could pause it and rewatch it or look up a term or whatever the case is. But for me, no. I mean, Black Lives Matter isn't a difficult concept, nor is it one that has changed. It is relatively simple. And I say Black lives, I mean Black and Indigenous lives, specifically in Canada. And there's nothing that's new. Those are the lives that have been disrespected and treated poorly at a disproportionate rate than anyone else. And so they matter right now so that they can be on an even playing field.
Yeah, when you started like the Make It Awkward campaign, you talked about how we can stand up against racism. And in your 2017 TED Talk, you recommended we speak out about racism, in our social circles, in public and social media. You actually brought up advice from your aunt and uncle, where you use that 1 meter that's around all of us to bring love, peace, and respect to everyone. I love that. Like, why has the be the change attitude that you've come to embody become so important in your life?
It's always been important in my life. It's not a new thing. This is the thing I circle back on often. It's when it becomes important in people like your lives. I would rather it not be the thing I do all the time. I don't want to be an activist all day long. I don't want to. There you go. Have fun. I don't want to be the activist all day long, every day, talking about race all day, every day. So what I want it to be is as important to you as it is to me, so that I don't have to be. But it's always been because it hasn't been an equal playing field for everyone that looks like me. And so that's why it's a necessity. And as my platform grows, I have a personal responsibility to use it. And a personal responsibility to request and ask and urge people like yourselves to use yours, like you are with this show right now. So thanks, brother.
Yeah. Hey, no worries. Have you experienced like that light bulb going off for other people, where they have recognized a real change?
Definitely, this time more so than any time in my life, I've experienced that aha moment for a lot of individuals that didn't have it before. So that's encouraging for sure. And now the hope is that they're in it for the long run and understand that it's not going to be a cakewalk, easy road full of hugs and high fives for, hey, thanks for getting it. But more than anything, it's probably going to add more difficulty and more pushback in your life than you would have had without it. And knowing that white people specifically could at any stage walk out the exit door and go back to their life without it, and it not adversely affect them at all. Right. So like it's almost going to be harder for white people to stay the course because they actually have an exit door. I don't have an exit door, so I have to figure out how to survive within it, but I can't leave it. So it's an interesting journey that we can't do it without each other. There's no way. Like Emancipation Proclamation didn't happen because of just Black people. Like we needed white people collectively together, right? So in the same way that Black and Indigenous people need white people, it's really going to be an interesting thing to see how long people can stay in this uncomfortable area until it gets comfortable again.
Yeah, like creatively, like you're looking at different things to talk about the space. One thing you're coming out recently with an album, a music album. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Music album. I'm excited about this. It's something that's taken some time for me to even get the courage to do so. But, I've gone from the place of being petrified to sing, to getting enough courage to be able to sing, to having some like serious help from some of my best friends and singing coach. One of my great friends, her name's Ellery Clayton. She's a phenomenal singing coach, has taken me from, just a little scared kid to being able to do like tour and musicals, and just giving me different tools. Again, it's all about learning and getting confident. And so now the album is this story kind of my people from the South that left in the late 1800s to early 1900s to up to Amber Valley and then back down to Edmonton, and all the different musical influences that kind of shaped my life, and kind of provided me with the different genres that speak to my heart. So it's a walk through my life and a walk through the life of those before me. Hey, 1 second, everybody.
Oh, no.
This is a beautiful podcast / interview that I'm doing. As much as you love your gaming, shush. Back to our program.
Back to the program. So, I mean, for the album, it's kind of creating this new change in your own life, like moving into singing and building out that space. Like, what was the best part about doing the album?
Overcoming fears, for sure. The best part of this is that, like, it's a scary thing often to follow your passions. It's a scary thing to often even do what you know is the right thing to do, right? I mean, this can go across the board. You can know what it is you're supposed to do, what you want to do, but you have this fear of doing it because of what might happen. And so the best part about it for me was actually doing it, not just saying we're going to do it, but actually doing it, right? Actually getting the songs done, actually putting one out. June 15th, the first single pops out. There's this feeling of accomplishment because you overcame this fear, and it's that thing you always wanted to do. People are like, I want to write a book. Man, I want to go to the Eiffel Tower. One day I want to dance in a competition, whatever it is. And all they are is one days all the time for so many people. But how great it feels when you actually take that one day and do the thing and complete it. So I think that's what I'm most excited about, just the fact that I didn't stop.
Yeah. I just want to go back to like the idea of, the Black Lives Matter rallies and the protest, like just for myself, like I reached out to my friends, like from minority communities, and I asked like what I could do to help. And, the responses were different. Like I'm a white male, I'm married to a person of color, I've got mixed kids. And, one thing that like I thought the Black Lives Matter movement taught me was that like I don't know enough about race matters. Like to say I would be a lie. To say like for the majority of white people it would be a lie. Like from your perspective, like what does it mean to be a true Black, Indigenous, and people of color ally?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's many ways you can answer that. I think one of the big ones is first an understanding that we do live in a racist climate, and that if we do know that, then we also understand that we all had a hand in it. Everybody, even with the most well-meaning people, activists, non-activists, racists, whatever, we all had a hand in it because it does exist and we're living. So we're all benefiting on the backs of Indigenous lives since, I guess, for 150 years of Canada, and we forgot how long Turtle Islands existed. So just the fact that we celebrate and spend money on fireworks on, the Canada 150, all of that, right? So we are benefiting from atrocities, and so are we from, the racist white supremacist system that was created many, many years ago. Like, so if we know that's the thing, and we're not doing anything to change that system, then that's the first place to start. First place to start is making the changes once you've realized the privileges that you have on the backs of those who have been treated the worst. So that's the first piece. Second, I think, is listening. Not listening with the intent to respond, to tell someone what you would do or how you would have done it or your experiences, but just listening. That's all. and then reading, you know, and learning. So we're watching the many documentaries that are available, reading the books, countless books that can give you different perspectives. And for yourself, you know, as like a white father with mixed children, like doing the work so that you can have that conversation as confidently with them as your wife can, and so that you and your wife can have those conversations that's not just this thing in the room you don't really discuss, like, so it can become like a unified front, right? So I think those things, just finding out what's missing, it's like it's this idea of representation too. If you look at a table and you're making decisions for a lot of people, who's missing at the table, you want to fill those holes in all the time. So filling the hole might just be, you got to read about it so we can talk about it. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, just like starting and educating yourself, and, you know, thinking more about how to be an ally. Like, did you always feel comfortable as a leader in the space, like speaking out about racism, or?
Yeah, I mean, no, yes and no. I feel like I'm more and more confident as time goes on, because I listen more and because I read more. So I get more tools for my toolkit. I listen to more stories from people. I understand that not one person is a monolith for their entire race. So just because someone's speaking to me, I'm not the voice for Black people. So the other Black voices that I hear allow me to enrich my, I guess, message, right? So it's not, this is Jesse's version who grew up in St. Albert to this. And the same thing, just the more I'm listening and digesting and learning and then reading and questioning, I get more and more confident with what I deliver. And so more confident than before, but always nervous, man, because you can't, not everyone's going to like what you say. Rarely are they. So that's fine.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what, just talking about other like speakers, like at your digital rally, you had the poet laureate Nomadic, and he said, you know, sometimes you hold rallies because there's no one on the inside, no one at the table who can actually do policy and law. And, you know, he said you're either at the table or you're on the menu.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I looked at it, and like many businesses and governments are sending out their diversity and inclusion messaging, and, you know, but I think people have a good reason to be skeptical. Like at the same time that leaders are supporting, you know, Black Lives Matter movement, you know, corporate and public boards and executives are overwhelmingly white, and it's without equal representation. Like, what does it mean for corporations and governments to be Black, Indigenous, and people of color allies?
Well, I mean, I think without a doubt, if you don't have representation from the top down, you're going to miss the mark every time. But also, if currently they all look like white men, that doesn't mean, oh, it's a wash. Of course, then you bring in experts and you bring in people who can help and help more. I would agree that, like, there's the shower technique versus the drip technique. Shower would be like, I'll come in and I'll do like a conference and everyone's like a whole bunch of information at once, and then you see a little spike and then things go down, versus having something sustainable that's there just a little bit. This month we're going to work on this for the whole month, and then this month, right? So having someone come in that understands how to do that and how to bring in change in a gradual way, so it has longer efficacy and it sticks longer. And in doing so, changing of attitudes and implicit bias might change, thus hirings might change. And so the next generation of the up and comers will look different, and it should be a reflection of the country you live in, for sure. And I think that will make everything a little better when you're making policy changes.
Yeah. Like when going through like this time of change, like I was, from friends, I was recommended to read, you know, several books like you're talking about. Like one was White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. The other was, it's a great book. Like the other was, you know, How to Be an Anti-Racist by Dr. Ibrahim X. Kendi. And, you know, honestly, like I'm learning, there's a lot of new ideas and terms that, you know, I'm not familiar with or haven't been familiar with in the past. And in White Fragility, like Robin DiAngelo describes a state in which, you know, even a minimal amount of racial stress becomes intolerable for white people. It makes us fearful, guilty, argumentative, quiet, you know, ready to leave. And then Dr. Kendi, you know, said, you know, we need to know, like, or we know how to be racist. We know how to pretend not to be racist. Now let's know how to be anti-racist. And it seems like this like hot potato that race is an issue that we'd rather like avoid than actually work on. Like, how do we change that mindset for, well, in particular for white people? so we can become Black and Indigenous and people of color allies?
How do we change that? I don't know how effective it is to ask the victim of abuse to tell them, here's how you can be. And I mean this with the most love. I don't know. I just fix it, because I don't know how I can make you want to do that. I just hope, right? And I can, by the way, I can throw out ideas, but I've never been in that position. So like what I'm throwing out are like ideas. I have no idea. There is a system that was created by people who don't look like me that was meant to help me not be on the same level. And then I'm asked, how do I fix it? Like, I have some ideas, but I think it starts with you trying some stuff, making some errors, and then you let me know what's the thing that's working, right? Like, hey, by the way, I did this thing as a white guy with some privilege, and I was able to chop this chunk of this systematic racism tree down. Guys, it's working. Let's do it. And then I'm like, yo, thank you. This actually feels better. Something's different. I appreciate it. But I think those are the things where I need to lean on you, and I need you to figure it out, make some errors, and report back.
Yeah. It's like a lot of it is trying to figure out, and like, how do we bring it together? Like, for messages for leaders right now, I guess that would be it, is try to chalk down that tree. Like, how do we move towards that tree and figure it out together?
Yeah. I mean, the tree was there's a lot of things that are missing on that tree. So if that's the best place to start, let's go get them up on these branches high up there, right? Because at the end of the day, we got, let's just say, this white man tree. And then there's a bunch of other races and sexes that are not even on the tree. We're trying to get up, and it's like, oh, you can. But on this other side, there's this like white only ladder that we didn't even know existed, right? Like, how did you get up there so fast? Not that I can't get up there and climb, and it'll be hard work, but the ladder's easier. So, throw some ladders around. That'd be awesome. Toss a ladder to a friend.
Like, Jesse, thanks so much for taking the time for being a part of the show. Like, in talking about like change and like how do we enact change, like, it sounds from the conversation like it's not a one-way street.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's something that we got to think deeper about.
Not a one-way street, but also it's like, be empowered that we can't do it without you, right? So this idea of, it's not a like you have to. No, like, we can't collectively without each other. There's no chance. Numbers don't make sense. Doesn't make sense statistically. Doesn't make sense on critical mass that makes changes happen in a quick period of time. We have to actually do it together. So the idea, I don't get it, I'm out, is the only wrong for sure answer. It's even more wrong than just being racist, because at least they're doing something. See, don't do that thing. But just like, I'm out and doing it. It's like the worst of them all, actually, So yeah, we need each other. Scotty, I need you. I'll help you if you can help me. High five it up.
Yeah. Thanks so much, man.
Absolutely, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for your support. Please remember to click subscribe so we can bring you more remarkable interviews with extraordinary leaders.